Hello, everybody. You're very welcome to the Tuition Centre. My name is Owen Leary, and I'm here to talk to you about our free Maths Pre. I suppose we all know this evening that we're waiting to hear from the Department of Education tomorrow on Friday about what's likely to happen to the Leaving Cert exam and when it's going to be scheduled. So as it stands right now, we're not certain of the date you will sit your Leaving Cert Higher Level Maths Paper 1. But we do know for certain when you will do the tuition centres Leaving Cert Maths Pre Paper 1, and that is Saturday, the 11th of April. So we know obviously our exam is going to be different to your school-based exam and the exam you do for the Leaving Cert, in that you'll be sitting our exam at home. However, we want you to treat it, your preparation, like that of a real exam, like the like you did for the pre's when they were on, and like you plan on doing for the real exams in June or July or August, whenever they take place. So what you do is, you try to get a good night's rest, have a good breakfast in the morning, maybe have a little bit of exercise before you start your exam, and be ready, be in the right frame of mind for the exam when you get going. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're prepared for it, you have everything there. You have a good old fashioned regular clock, a calculator, your your tables, book, everything ready. Maybe make this do not disturb sign for your door, just to say to your family, look, you're doing a Leaving Cert pre-exam here, so that everybody is taking it seriously. Um, I suppose my biggest bit of advice to you for this particular exam, in terms of just common sense advice, is to turn off your phone for this exam. We all know how distracting it is if there's notifications coming through on your phone. So you can just turn it off for the 2.5 hour exam. And one of the advantages of being at home is, of course, that you will have a clock available to you somewhere in the house that you can use to make sure you get your timing right for the exam. Of course, you want to have your correct equipment. Again, another little bit of an advantage. You can have more than one calculator with you for this exam. You know, if you bought the new Sharp calculator, you can also have your old Sharp calculator there as a backup. If you got the new Casio, you can again have your old Casio there with you, just to maybe help you out if you get stuck doing anything. I always say to my students, they have to know their calculator. They got to be comfortable with the calculator. Inside in the exam, so often I've seen students trying to figure out how to get the correlation coefficient or the standard deviation on their calculator, and they're using time, they're using energy on that, which ideally they would prefer to be doing, they would prefer to be spending that energy on the harder questions. When the exam actually starts, ideally we'd like you to do it between 9:30 and 12 o'clock, but we know, of course, that some people will have commitments at that time, and you can naturally do it later in that day or even into the Sunday. But what we'd say is that this is advice for all maths exams, but particularly for our one on Saturday. We want you to read the whole paper. So we want you to read the entire paper, get a feel for the paper, get an idea of what questions are in there, which topics are there, and get an idea of which ones you'd like to do first. So maybe highlight the numbers of the questions that you like. And then what you want to do is you want to make yourself a plan. Now, the plan can be as simple as, which one will I start with, which question? And the simplest, straightforward advice I would say to you is start with the question you think you'll do best at. Because once you get one good question under your belt, you'll relax. You'll be able to take another look at the exam then with that kind of clearer picture, saying, okay, I know I'm going to be okay here. One good question done, eight to go. Which one am I going to go for next? Of course, you want to attempt everything. We all know that even if you're correcting the exam yourself, you cannot give yourself any mark if you're looking at a blank answer booklet. So you got to attempt every question. Okay. Sometimes, it's a different experience if you're going for a H6 compared to if you're going to H1. If you're going for a H1, of course you want to attempt everything, but of course you're hoping to try to get everything right. You probably make a few mistakes in there, but you're hoping to make a good shot off everything. If you're going for H6, you don't need to get everything right. That's one of the big bits of advice I always give to the student looking for the H6 to H5. They don't need to get everything right. You just need to make sure you get everything started. Okay. So the marks are there to be awarded. So the marks are there. You're going to learn an awful lot about the marking scheme when you're correcting on Sunday and Monday. Okay. And you're going to see that if you make an attempt, you're going to be rewarded for that, just as long as it's one step in the correct direction. Okay. Don't forget the units. Okay. There's 600 marks in total for the Leaving Cert. There's 300 Leaving Cert Maths, 300 for paper one. So if you get 270 marks, that means you've 90%, you got yourself a H1. But if you get 269 marks, you do not get a H1 for that paper, you get a H2. Combined out of the two exams, if you end up at 89.83%, unfortunately that's a H2. And again, even if it's you correcting it yourself, you cannot round yourself up, you always round down. So you gotta get 90 to get the H1, you gotta get 50 to get the H5. Okay, what are we going to say here? We got 2.5 hours for the exam. It's a long time inside there, by yourself, sitting inside in the room, I suppose, fully focused. Everybody will hit a snag somewhere in the exam, there's tricky bits in there. When you do, just take a moment, take a drink of water, gather your thoughts, and have another go off it. Get stuck back in there again. When you're finished, if you're finished after 2 hours and 15 minutes, don't turn off the paper and say, okay, that's fine. Have a look back through it. Check your workings again. Make sure about the units. Don't end up losing out on a grade because of a unit error, because of a rounding error. Again, you might have forgotten, you might have, at the start of the paper, you might have left out question 1B, part 2. And you'd say to yourself, oh, I'll go back to that at the end. Make sure you do have a look back through it and see have you everything answered. So we'll just finish up with the last few points. The exam is a mixture of easy questions, medium, difficult questions, just like any exam. Okay? So just make sure you don't give up if you hit a difficult question, because the one after that might be easy again. Okay? Oftentimes inside the exam, you'll see that question 8, part C might be easier than 8, part A. So don't give up on a question just because you hit a difficult part. Sometimes students end up doing question 7, part D, and then they can work their way back to 7A and B, because when they have D right, they kind of figure out what they got to do in A and B. Keep working for the 2 hours and 30 minutes. Don't give up on it. Don't get distracted. Don't turn on your phone. Just keep working for the time. The grade you get on Saturday's exam will basically reflect how well prepared you are for the exam on Saturday. Of course, we expect you to be better prepared for the exam when it takes place for the Leaving Cert. So the grade you get on Saturday just kind of gives you a picture of where you are right now and a better indication of what you got to do to get to where you want to be in the end. Lastly, my students will know that I always say this to them. If you don't know what to do what you know. What does that mean? Even in the general sense. Right now, we're all living in an unusual situation. So we got to do what we know. We're going to practice for the real exam, just like we would have if we were living in a normal situation. Around now, you'd be doing pre-exams, you'd be doing revision courses. So that's what we're here to do. We want to just keep you doing what your regular routine preparing for the Leaving Cert. Inside in the exam, you hit a question, you don't know how to do with it. You're looking for a H5, a H4. You're thinking, oh my God, I can't get this question started. What you got to do is just look for that clue into the question. If you see the word rate, you look at it again, you think to yourself, okay, this is rate of change. Rate of change is differentiation. Okay, what am I going to differentiate? That's the sort of idea. Inside in every question is enough information to get started. And sometimes once you get started, you'll find your way of stumbling your way sometimes towards the end. And I suppose the last message I'd say to you is best of luck. Best of luck on Saturday and best of luck for the rest of the year. Us here at the Tuition Centre, we're there to help. From the maths exam on Saturday, when you get the marking scheme, if you're unsure of whether you're getting high partial credit or low partial credit for one particular question, you take a picture, you send it into Maths Pre at the tuitioncentre.ie. We'll be able to send you back the result you should get. there's going to be more of these videos online to explain the marking scheme, and also we're going to have that webinar on Monday to explain any last questions. So guys, on that note, I wish you the very best of luck, and we'll see at at the webinar maybe on Monday, and for our other pre-exams for maths and for other subjects in the weeks and the months to come. Okay, good luck to you guys.